season to be bitey. We are talking about the Asylum's Shark season. Stars Michael Madsen, Paige McGarvin and Juliana Di Stefano, and is a similar story to that of The Shallows that we saw with Blake Lively a few years ago. Apparently based on a true story. Obviously, I don't know how precise that is. It could be there's a true story that someone once got attacked by a shark, and that's probably it. But anyway, what is the story here? So we have three friends, one guy and two girls, and they are going to take some photos. One of the girls is like a model, the other one's like a makeup artist, and the guy's a photographer. And they're going out to this kind of remote kind of outcropping of islands that have just kind of surfaced with the low tide. And, you know, take some photographs in this apparently untapped photo opportunity. And they go there via kayak. And Michael Madsen is actually the father of one of these girls. And when they are there, they are seen to be hunted by a rogue great white with a taste for human flesh. What will happen? You'll have to watch the movie to find out. So, as I've said, the movie's premise is remarkably similar to that of The Shallows, just with a couple more cast members here. Obviously, if you're unawares of The Asylum, a very low budget, normally mockbuster movie, and I guess this one would have been a mockbuster to The Shallows, however it's come out obviously quite a few years too late. So first of all, let's talk about what works. I have to say this simple storyline works in this movie's favour. The Asylum, not known for particularly in-depth productions, shall we say, but the fairly simple premise here, I have to say, works in this movie's favour. It's easy to understand, it doesn't get overly complicated, it doesn't need to. I feel shark attack movies, you know, that's what you are expecting. It is a kind of a somewhat sensible premise, unless you're watching things like Sharknado. And this one, I guess because it's somewhat based on a true story, does seem kind of fairly plausible to a certain degree. I have to say, the acting from our three kind of younger cast members, I was actually fairly impressed with. And then at times, I have to be honest with you, I was forgetting I was watching an Asylum movie here with some kind of natural performances and some kind of quite sort of natural sounding kind of dialogue between the kind of the three characters. You know, it just kind of made you forget you're watching an Asylum picture, which renowned to be crappy. Although they had done a couple of movies I have liked, admittedly. I think the movie has also got some really good photography in places, mainly through long shots, and I got a feeling they're using a lot of drones here and stuff. But nonetheless, we do see some kind of like some great wide-angle shots showing you the kind of obviously the kind of the open ocean, things like that. And there are a couple of instances where we have our CGI shark that swims kind of maybe underneath the boats and the kayaks. I think in those instances the shark doesn't look too bad, looks fairly good obviously for such a kind of a low budget production. Okay, but what doesn't work with this movie? So the shark itself really is the main problem here. Anything involving the shark primarily, I feel, really shows the kind of the low budget and the quickness of this production. When we do see our shark a little bit more up close, it obviously looks, you know, very cheap CGI. And when we do have our shark attacks, all you're doing is seeing lots of kind of bubbles and kind of red water. It's clearly like made for TV with no real kind of graphic violence whatsoever, unfortunately. So those of you who are hoping for a bloody shark horror film, this one will not itch that scratch, unfortunately. Michael Madsen looks like he filmed his scenes in his own home, and I have to say he looks like he's reading from maybe like an auto cue or something along the lines of that. All his phones are really just on the phone to his daughter, and I think it's one of those instances where, you know, they want to have a named actor, but they don't want to have to fly them out there and kind of shoot and get on set. They just shoot a few scenes in the actor's home, and, you know, it's via phone and stuff like that. And so there were a couple of occasions where I thought Michael Madsen seemed quite animated, but the former Mr. Blonde, unfortunately now, is a staple of these kind of low-budget, schlocky movies. The movie also has a weird mix of the characters making some good decisions, but also some incredibly stupid decisions. So they do make a couple of what I would consider sensible choices here. For example, when we have our characters on their kayaks in the open ocean, they have the idea to kind of tie them together to create like a larger shape underwater to try and kind of detract from the the shark trying to attack them. Smart move. Also, pointing out the fact that they shouldn't be splashing around and things like that. Again, smart move. But then we have incredibly dumb decisions like not tying the kayaks up when they're kind of like rising, and then they seem to kind of like go against their own advice and start splashing around and things like this. So the movie does have some issues here where dumb decisions are made. The movie grinds to a halt around the third act, unfortunately, where we get a lot of inflated melodrama. And I got the feeling this is to obviously pad out the running time here, because the story, to be fair, is very slight. So of course we have to have this kind of love triangle angle, and then the movie's action just grinds to this halt. We have to spend these extended long sequences involving the drama between the kind of our sort of characters and stuff like that. It does pick up again a little bit kind of towards the end there. But nonetheless, it does kind of grind this movie to a standstill at that point within the film. The cast is relatively small. We do see a smattering of other people, but it's such a kind of a low-budget fare. It doesn't become one of the worst asylum movies, I have to say, but really it's pretty generic. To be fair, it's not really a kind of a must-see shark movie with no real kind of memorable scenes. Just a couple of okay performances, I would say, here and there. But really, I don't think it's necessarily bad. Just very, very generic. So I'll give it a 5 out of 10, which I actually feel is fairly generous because I don't think it's massively entertaining. But the kind of the cast, I think, did the best job with maybe with the exception of Madsen. They did the best job with the kind of the material that they are given, and the story doesn't seem too outlandish. So I'll give it a average mark of 5 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I shall look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.